Game show Sunrise Freshers. Then we'll wrap your morning with something wacky. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
Jamaica, make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
Jamaica is no stranger to sharing our talents overseas in various skill sets. One of Jamaica's most celebrated cops, Fitz Bailey, is now the top cop in Turks and Caicos, sharing his expertise in crime fighting with the changing realities of crime impacting the small islands governed by the United Kingdom. The islands are settled by many Caribbean nationals, many of who are concerned about rising violence in the once peaceful and prosperous territory. Of course, I spoke to Fitz Bailey on my recent trip to Turks and Caicos to cover the elections for government. Of course, we're going to take a deeper look at some of the highlights from my interview with the decorated cop. Welcome to Lead Story. Good evening. I'm Nika Lewis. Well, I must tell you that whilst in the Turks and Caicos Islands recently, a British overseas territory in the Caribbean for that matter, for the election, I got a sit down with the former head of the Jamaica Constabulary Force's crime portfolio, Fitz Bailey. He's known as DCP here in Jamaica, but he has taken up the post of Acting Commissioner of Police there in the TCI after just 1 month of being appointed Deputy Commissioner of Police there with the same portfolio as that he held in Jamaica. Let's have a look.
I attended a particular church since I came here, and I was on my way back home, and I started to reflect, and I started to ask myself the question, how comes I'm in this island? Because to this very day I'm trying to find out how did I reach Turks and Caicos Island. There was not even the slightest premonition that I would be here. I, as you know, served the Jamaica Constabulary Force for 40 years and 7 months. And after my retirement, I got a call from the commissioner who was here. I've never met him in person before, but I was aware of him because he's a Caribbean person. And he invited me to come and join this police force in the capacity as Deputy Commissioner of Police. I had no interest. There were so many offerings for me in terms of just leaving the JSF. The private sector were offering me jobs, several jobs. I mean, a lot, when I say a lot. I was offered position as director, as consultant to firms, manager, you name it. So I wanted to take some time to recalibrate, to reflect. So I indicated then that to him that, listen, I have no interest in working at this time. I just retired. I needed some time. The exact word I used, I need to thought a while, and I need about 4 months at least to do that. Subsequently, I got another call from him. And this time, the governor was on the line with another gentleman. I thought at that time that the governor was a male, but during the discussion, I realized that she was a female, and I was basically encouraged to even for a short while. I mean, all the various, we had a discussion and a number of options were presented to me in terms of how I can engage in the service. I told them that I would reflect and then get back to them. At the end of the day, having discussed with my family and some of my closer friends, I decided that I'll give it a try. And that was on the 7th of October, I came into this island.
Bailey revealed he was hesitant for the taking up of the position, but the authorities in the Turks and Caicos Islands were intent on having him, and so his reputation preceded him and spoke for itself.
I didn't do an interview, basically. So it's an opportunity, and I think not only in terms for me, but I think it's a significant boost to the JCF and to Jamaica.
Well, with that, we take a quick one, and we'll be right back with more from DCP Bailey, now Acting Commissioner of Police Bailey.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going to believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me I go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today, no longer. Then no me face that. I never make no record, I beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams. Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
Rise with sunrise. Miss Kitty and Dennis are powering through the week. We start your morning with a checkup, then grab your bags. We'll explore Jamaica in Destination Tuesday. Make sure you're sharp. It's the return of the only morning game show, Sunrise Freshers. Then we'll wrap your morning with something wacky. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
Welcome back to Lead Story. We're talking with the former JCF crime fighter, then DCP Fitz Bailey, on his new journey as now Acting Commissioner of Police in the Turks and Caicos Islands. In his new role, of course, Bailey faces new challenges in Turks and Caicos, and he's faced with leading a force largely made up of expats, being himself one.
It's a very complex force. I think, somebody told me that it's maybe 120 nationalities living in this small island. So how do you police when you have at least 70 nationalities, different culture, different training? For instance, you have from the Eastern Caribbean, you have Grenada, you have people from Barbados, you have people from Bahamas, you have people as far as I think from Africa, who is a member of this force. So it's how do you manage such diversity and ensure that there is integration? And how do you cause them to integrate and look at the objective? So you have to fight a lot, you have to hold a lot of fire within this organization. But I think, as I said to the officers recently, I think this is one of the most dynamic police force that one can ever serve. And I think we need to use the uniqueness of this force to make it one of the best within the region. And that's one of the things that I'm striving to do. There are a lot of shortcomings, if I may say. When I look from the perspective of the JCF, where I'm coming from, I mean, there are a lot of differences. And how do we, with all the diversity, because let's say Barbados do their thing a different way, Bahamas, so the police were socialized within those culture, within those reality. And how now do you merge that culture to create one single Royal Turks and Caicos police force with its own philosophy? And I didn't mention that we have significant amount of influence from England, because they are the subject of England. And so do we adopt the English style of policing, or do we adopt the Caribbean style of policing, or do we create a unique style of policing?
As I looked at that clip, I remembered asking about the diversity that exists within the TCI. I must explain to you, for our audiences here in Jamaica who've probably never traveled to the TCI, or those who just don't really have much of an understanding of what's happening there. It, to me, appears to be what Jamaica would have been like during the indentureship period of history, when we had an influx of nationals from places like China, India, and all over the world, where these populations come in, and as expats or migrants, these people keep so much of their own culture, so much of their own language. And so you have a distinction in how the natives of the TCI sound in their accents when they speak. You can hear the TCI accent differently from the Haitians who are now living there for some time, the Jamaicans who've been living there for some time. But there's not a blended sound for all the peoples quite yet. Now, I think Jamaica, on the other end, is more along the continuum, where unlike the TCI, where they still have this rich grasp and they still have that touch with their base and their languages, we as Jamaicans have formed almost our own pidgin, P-I-D-G-I-N, so that we can communicate freely and fluently among ourselves as varying nationals from different spaces. And so our pot, or our poopery, as I explained it some time ago in one of my discussions with you, is that we have come to a place of homogeneous acceptance. We have a language that's forged out of so many languages, and we have created our Creole in different languages. So we can see a bit of French, we can see a bit of Spanish, we can see a bit of the British, etc., etc. There, it's just complete societies of people who choose that they will not give up their language, they will not give up their traditions and their cultures. It's not quite blended yet. And so Acting Commissioner Bailey now has to forge an alliance of sorts between those different groups that are party to the force of Royal Turks and Caicos Force, and try to fight crime using those, knowing fully well that those will be challenges which he would have identified. So I want to tell you now that he also believes that to transform the Royal Turks and Caicos police force, it will require more than just regular policing. And he took an inclusive approach, as I mentioned, to changing some of the culture within the force. In true Jamaican style, Bailey saw food and vibes as an answer. So let's take a look.
A police force of just over 400. How do you ensure that the citizen can have confidence in the police force? And it's about how do you respond to citizens' need. Those are very important, very important. So it's really not about me, it's about the people that I lead, and it is the people that I lead that is going to make me look good or bad. I can just provide that sense of guidance. It's like you are the captain, you influence the team. The way you influence the team will determine the performance of the team. And so that's one of the things that I try to do. I try to let my executive know that we are not lord over the rest of staff. Where I said to them, not taking it for, I think it was a politician say, the chief servant. I told them at the conference that I was a chief servant here within the Royal Turks and Caicos Police Force. And I mean it. I'm a servant of the people, not only the external, but the people within. One of the things that I employ is an open door policy. Unlike other leaders, any member of staff can come and talk to me. And I go out and I talk to them. I interact with them. We did something which was unprecedented since I came. When I came, this building that I'm in, it was called the White House. It was like a fortress. No junior staff, based on what I was told, wanted to have any part or lot with this building, because they see us as being segregated from them. I said to the executive, we have to break down that barrier. We're not here for that. So I did something in the beginning, the 4th, I think, of January, which was a Friday. I said, we are going to have a social, and we're going to invite all the rank and file. And the rank and file members would be treated by us, the executive. So what we did, we opened the gate, and the governor, when I told her, she was so impressed. She said she wanted to be a part of it. So both the governor, the deputy governor, and all of us as force executive, we right out there. We had a day of activity where we actually served the rank and file officers. We served the meals, and that, simple as it may sound, it created a significant difference, and people now start to look at us differently. I'm here to create change.
We absolutely know you have more questions, and of course we have some more answers, but right after this break. You're watching Lead Story on CVM TV.
Sports should be entertaining. Sports should be riveting. This is CVM Sports. I'm Jordan Fort.
It's not a patrol, it's a pit.
When me a drive last week in the road, me say I can't get wing.
The patrol then deep, then jerk. People ball for them back in the taxi, no matter how slow you go.
We need some help, and not tomorrow or next week. We need it right now.
Damage to car tires, bumpy car rides, and the traffic frustration. Potholes and bad roads have become the unavoidable thorn in the flesh of the Jamaican motorists. But why? And can Jamaica turn the page to an era of better roads with new road work projects? Well, Lead Story is here to investigate.
Join George Davis from February 10 to 12 at 8 p.m. for our Lead Story special, the story of the Jamaican pothole. See it happen right here on CVM TV.
Welcome back to Lead Story. I'm Nika Lewis. We're talking all about transitions with DCP or former DCP Fitz Bailey here in the JCF back home in Jamaica. And then in the Turks and Caicos Islands, he is now Acting Commissioner of Police Bailey. So I spoke with the Acting Commissioner, and he has the helm of changing Turks and Caicos police force with new difficulties such as immigration, heightened crime from the influx of gang violence there, previously not associated with the peaceful country. As you'll see, though, the man who led the JCF's crime portfolio is up to the job.
And so use of force policy is a little different from what obtains in Jamaica. When an officer engages in any violent confrontation, the process can be frustrated in terms of, you wonder if the officer is the victim or is the accused, that sort of thing. The process is very, very involved. The officers being off frontline duty for some put on administrative leave, etc. So these are some of the issues that I'm trying to deal with, and I intend to ensure that there's a more structured approach regarding that. And sometimes as a leader, you have to just take some decision, and whatever happens, you have to just bear the consequence. Because you do things in the interest of the people that you serve, not only the internal but the external customers. Because, as I said, Turks and Caicos today is different from what it was 6-7 years ago. We never had these violent confrontation with criminals. We never had criminals moving about with high-powered weapons. Those were unheard of. We have a serious migration problem, illegal migrants, with the problem in Haiti. We're impacted significantly from that. I mean, last year alone, over 5,000 Haitians were intercepted at sea, heading towards here and return. And we also intercepted almost 2,000 on land that were repatriated to Haiti. So you can see the complexity of the problem. And a lot of our violence, unfortunately, without profiling, are being perpetrated by that particular descendant from Haiti. A lot of our more violent criminals. I mean, there are diversity, but some of them really are from that. So these are some of the realities that we have to deal with.
Well, as the acting commissioner would have explained there, we have seen a bit more of the Haitian population in the TCI than we may have encountered here in Jamaica. And part of that has to do with location and also access to the greenback, which is a US dollar. And quite a bit of the Haitians who we've encountered, or a few of the Haitians we've encountered there, are hardworking individuals. They, I understand, are among the most educated in the country. They're very hardworking. They're honest in most cases. And, there will always be exceptions to the rule. There was a large number of the Spanish-speaking natives and such. We had people from Dom Rep, people from other islands like Cuba, Venezuela, other places out there where they speak fluent Spanish. The Haitians, however, are quite dominant in the TCI. So you will see them, they look just like us, but they don't sound like us. And so that was one of the distinctions among them. And as you would have heard, a few of them get themselves involved with crime and violence and the importation of weapons, pretty much similar crisis like we face with crime here and the Haitian situation. But they send them back in the thousands. So the next question, which obviously I would have asked, will Fitz be returning to Jamaica, and how long will his stint in the TCI be?
My tenure will depend on my employer. I personally have no intention to stay here for any long time. I have my family and other interests in Jamaica that I have to deal with. But I really want to, if I stay, effect some meaningful changes. And I foresee maybe 2 years of consistent, effort. And if I get the political support in terms of our administrative support from the political, maybe it's a governor, because the governor really has that responsibility. And so far, I have been getting the support from them, but it's going to need, and based on my own assessment of the problem, it's going to need significant injection of resources. How do we look at, for example, infrastructure development? How do we ensure that we get the right equipment? How do we ensure that we get the right uniform technology that is needed? How do we get, for example, equipment to mitigate the influx of the migrants, illegal migrants, from coming in this country? So it's going to require significant investment. I think Jamaica model, the model that was used within the past 5-6 years within Jamaica, where there was that capital injection in the force, the whole development of the infrastructure, the people, etc. That type of approach is needed to get the force to.
Well, that's all the time we have for that special, but we will certainly carve out some more for you sometime later on. Today, or later on, I should say, we have a special installment of Lead Story Prime at 8 p.m. The story of the Jamaican pothole with George Davis. Don't miss him too much. See him later.
Rise with Sunrise. Miss Kitty and Dennis are powering through the week. We start your morning with a checkup, then grab your bags. We'll explore Jamaica in Destination Tuesday. Make sure you're sharp. It's the return of the only morning game show, Sunrise Freshers. Then we'll wrap your morning with something wacky. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
Hey you know all the people in your business?
You should take advantage of CVM TV's unbeatable small business advertising package. Trust me.
And get your goods and services in front of your customers today.
For $150,000, you get a high-quality professional commercial, plus 20 prime-time commercial spots.
That's massive exposure at a fraction of the cost.
Including on the #1 morning show in Jamaica, Sunrise.
So don't wait. Call us on 658-208-5377 and see your business goals happen right